Hello.
How are you?
Good. That looks very good, Saul.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you know what? Just enough of a breeze.
To let you feel it, huh?
That's right.
Well,
Just enough breeze, no rain.
wow.
What can I say?
Looks beautiful.
Got my Mai Tai over here on the little table next to my chair.
What page are we doing tonight?
Well, last week we did not, correct?
No, we did not.
So we should be on 73. I would not bet on it, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I may listen but not be on visual, but that's okay.
That's all right.
It's been difficult. I usually try to follow the Gemara. I do my own Daf Yomi,
I do too.
but because he goes too fast, I like to spend more time.
Well, I don't spend more time, but I do it myself. And then Shabbos, I catch up a lot because usually I don't go to Shul the Shidduch, so I stay in the shul.
Oh, so you stay there. That's
And
great.
I go early. I always go early to shul, so I usually get a little bit in.
That's
I open
wonderful.
here, Bernie.
I'll
What?
attest to that.
He'll attest to that.
Magdimim. Hello, George. Hello.
How you doing, Bernie?
I'm good. How's it in Hawaii over there?
It's
Terrible.
wonderful.
He just told me he couldn't stop complaining.
I was telling him that the breeze is just enough. My Mai Tai is here on a little table next to my chair. I'm set.
You could learn like that for weeks.
Tell me about it. The only problem is I hate sand.
Is this pre-recorded? Is that a picture that you can just put up and post, or are you really in Hawaii?
Hello.
No, you just pick it off the list, I guess. I don't even remember when I did it. Mario, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Who's behind you?
Me.
Is that you?
It's my avatar.
Yeah, but I can't see the nose. I only see the eyes, so that's why I didn't recognize you.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Oh.
No, it looks like some Mexican mafia guy.
Well,
No,
I tested a phone app, and it said make an avatar of your photo. I did it, so I put it in.
Uh-huh. Okay, you can say it's your cousin.
Yeah. Okay. Sancho Panza.
Good evening, Ernie.
Good evening. I think we're starting Hadlakas Neiros.
73.
73.
73.
Jorge.
The
Buenas
reasons
noches,
for
¿qué tal
lighting,
estás?
the reason why we light Shabbos candles. We studied about halachot that pertain to Erev Shabbos, preparing for Shabbos. We now move on to discuss the mitzvah of lighting candles for Shabbos, or Hadlakat Neirot, which is performed immediately before Shabbos begins. This mitzvah is so important that even one who lacks food to eat should collect charity in order to fulfill it. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. In the next two shiurim, we will learn about the reasons for the mitzvah and the halachot that one must know to perform it properly. The obligation to light Shabbos candles is mentioned in the Gemara in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Chafei Amud Beis. Am Rav Nachman bar Rav Zida, v'Amilam Rav Nachman bar Rav Amarav. Hadlakas ner b'Shabbos is chova. It's an obligation to light Shabbos candle. What does Rashi say? Rashi explains that the objective of this obligation is to ensure that the Shabbos meal takes place in the light, which is an aspect of Kavod Shabbos. Choiva Kavod Shabbos hu. We're going to see there's two broad categories that we're going to fit certain acts into. One is called Kavod Shabbos. The other is called Oinik Shabbos. So having a trulant or a kugel on Shabbos is Oinik Shabbos. here Rashi is telling us that lighting candles and not eating your meal in the dark is an aspect of Kovod Shabbos. She'ein surah chashuv el b'mokum or ke'en yamama. An important meal always is lit, is illuminated, like it's daytime. Rabbeinu Tam, brought by Tosfos, uses slightly different terminology and explains that the objective of lighting Shabbos is enjoyment of Shabbos, oineg Shabbos. He suggests as well that although the word obligation used by the Gemara here is also used regarding washing one's hands after eating, ma'im achronim, which we discussed, the two halachos differ from one another. Ma'im achronim, whose objective is prevention of a danger, does not warrant a bracha recited. Right there it says that we do ma'im achronim because of melach stomis, sodomite salt, which is dangerous for your eyes. You have to rinse your hand after you've eaten. Hadlakas Leiris is designed to enhance one's enjoyment of Shabbos, so one does recite a bracha. That's what Rabbeinu Tam says. Rabbeinu Tam notes that this is contrary to some Rishonim, who compared these two mitzvahs with respect to reciting a bracha as well, and maintain that one does not recite a bracha on Hadlakas Leiris. And such a position is recorded in the Torah, but it's not accepted as halacha. Here is the comment of Tosfos, Shabbos Chafei Amud Beis Choiva, v'yesh rotzim lamed ein levarich ad lakas ner. Some say you don't have to make a bracha. Why? Midikori lechoiva, because it was said in the Gemara that ad lakas ner is an obligation. Kidam rinon, just like it says in Chulin Kufay, ma'im achronim choiva, the ein tu'onim bracha, but it doesn't require a bracha. Omer Rabbeinu Tam. There's a confusion that Adlakas Noris is the lo dami l'mayim achron. It's not comparable. The lo havi elalat sola ba'alma. Mayim achronim is a sakana issue. It's to save you. Aval Adlakas Ner yichoyvet shel mitzvah sonik Shabbos. So here, Rabbeinu Tam uses the formulation oinik Shabbos, while Rashi used kovod Shabbos. So it seems, at first glance, that there's a machlokas between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam concerning the purpose of Adlakas Neiros. Rashi holds that candles are lit as kovod Shabbos, to honor the Shabbos meal, while Rabbeinu Tam argues that they are lit as onik Shabbos, to enjoy the Shabbos meal. Consequently, one would expect that according to Rabbeinu Tam, if one already had a candle burning before Shabbos, there would be no need to light additional candles specifically designated for Shabbos, since one still enjoys the meal with light that was lit for the other purpose, even if it was not lit for Shabbos. However, Tosfos continues to quote Rabbeinu Tam as saying that one must specifically extinguish the lit candle and relight it in such a situation, so as to show that you're lighting it because of Shabbos. Says Tosfos, near Rabbeinu Tam, if there happened to have been a candle already lit, you should put out that candle. It therefore seems that all agree that lighting Shabbos candles on Erev Shabbos is fulfillment of kovod Shabbos, even if the enjoyment of the resultant light on Shabbos itself is also fulfillment of Onik Shabbos, according to Rabbeinu Tam.
Ernie, does that mean that Rashi's comment would imply that you have to light Neiros Shabbos in the room where you're eating your Suda and not in another room?
Yes, the Rashi definitely holds that lighting the candles is to provide light for your Suda.
Okay, so we know that various simchas are going away for Yom Tovim. There's always an area where candles are lit that are outside of the main dining room. So
Okay.
I don't know if he comments on it as we go
We
on.
we will comment on that. The halacha will comment on that. But it's very clear from Rashi, he connects it to the Suda. She'ein suda chashuv el b'makom or. I would say most people have their candelabras in their dining room. I mean, on a regular basis, most people are lighting where they eat. Even on sukkahs, we bring the candelabra into the sukkah and light in the sukkah to fulfill the same concept, because the sudas are going to be in the sukkah. We don't leave the candelabra in your house, right? We bring it into the sukkah, same thing. But we'll see what happens when you travel. We will deal with all of that, Bernie, as to what's the best thing to do when you're traveling. Indeed, so we're back to this. Is this Kovet Shabbos? Is it Oneg Shabbos? The Rambam writes that Shabbos candles actually is a fulfillment, is a kiyum of both Kovet Shabbos and Oneg Shabbos. Says the Rambam in Hilchos Shabbos, Hadlokas Ner b'Shabbos, Ein Rishus. It's not optional that Imrotz Matlik, V'imrotz Ein Matlik. But below mitzvah. She'er chayv lirdov achrei ad sheyasen kegon eruv chatzeres v'natil sedayim lachila. Erev chatzeros is something that you do on Shabbos if you need it. If you don't eat bread on Shabbos, you won't do Netilas Yadayim either. Ela choiva. It's an obligation on both ve'echad anoshim ve'echad noshim chayov and lios b'veitein ner dolik b'Shabbos. There's a requirement to have in their house a candle lit. Now you notice, Bernie, the Rambam doesn't say that it has to be in your, it says it has to be in your house. He doesn't limit it yet to the place where you eat. Afilu ein lo ma yochal. For example, even if there's nothing to eat, you don't run around begging at your neighbors for money to buy food. Rather, you run around to buy candles for Ner Shabbos. Says the Rambam, all the various cleaning that we have to do from Friday is because of Kovet HaShabbos. V'yener doluk, there has to be a candle lit. V'shulchan aruch, your table has to be set. Umita mutzas, a bed made. All of those things, kol elu l'kovet Shabbos hay. So what indeed is the difference between these two terminologies, Kovet Shabbos and Oneg Shabbos? So the simplest explanation can be derived from the various examples given by the Rambam elsewhere, the same chapter, where he gives you examples of things that are Kovet and things that are Oneg. Says the Rambam, Ezeu Kovet, Zesham Chachamim Shemitzvah al Adam, Lirchotz part of Yadav Raglav B'cham and Be'erev Shabbos. Chachamim said, you're supposed to wash your face, hands, and feet in hot water Erev Shabbos. Why? Then they Kovet Shabbos. You're giving honor to Shabbos to prepare yourself. Umi Kovet Shabbos she'ilbash ksus nekiya, putting on a suit and tie, if that's your minig. V'lo yeh malbush hachol k'malbush haShabbos. You don't put on jeans and a t-shirt, things that you wear during the week. You put special Shabbos clothes. That's under the geder of Kovet Shabbos. What's Oneg Shabbos? Oneg means enjoyment or pleasure. The fact that you have to prepare a very fatty dish, like a chulent or a kugel. Umashke mevusam. No. And no.
Okay.
Mashke mevusam, like perfumed wine. Akolafi mamon shaladim. Everything based on your financial status. That's Oinik Shabbos. The Gra, the Vilna Gaon, summarizes that Kavod Shabbos refers to preparations you do before Shabbos. You wash, you make the beds, you set out special clothing that you're going to wear. That's all done prior to Shabbos. Onik Shabbos refers to the various enjoyments that you do on Shabbos itself. Loshen Rambam, the Perak Lamed Meichel Shabbos, Arba Dvorim Nemru b'Shabbos. 4 things were said about Shabbos. Shnaim and Torah, Shnaim and Divrei Torah. 2 are Doraisa, 2 are Rabbinic. Vein Mufurash al Yanavim. The Shabbat Torah Zochar v'Shamor. So the Torah laws are taught to us by Zochar v'Shamor. Zochar usually refers to Kiddush. Shomor refers to, keeping all of the various Shabbos prohibitions. And then, the Nevi'im Kavod v'Oinik. The Nevi'im taught us about Kavod Shabbos and Oinik Shabbos. Shenemar, v'karasu l'Shabbos Oinik. Chaim, we're on page 75 because we started at 8:15 today.
Yeah, I just saw the message. I saw the one from last night. I thought it was 8:30 today, but okay.
Okay. Well, from now on, it'll be 8:15 because Mincha and Ma'ariv are over earlier. And then very soon we'll do it 8 o'clock again. We'll let people know. So the Nevi'im said, the Karasu l'Shabbos Oineg, u'likdosh asrem mechubad. It's in Yeshayahu. Ezeu Kavod, she'imane adam ha'mincha l'ma'ala min bo hasuda. Kavod Shabbos is that we learn the dinim of stopping to eat from and beyond mincha, because you want to go into Shabbos hungry. That's an aspect of Kavod Shabbos. Ritzor lomer onegu b'Shabbos atzmo. So the Gra gives us the geder that Onik Shabbos is something that you do on Shabbos itself, eat at Sholem. The Kavod hu be'erev Shabbos. Kavod are the things we do erev Shabbos to prepare for Shabbos. One of those things we said is Hadlakas Neiros. The Gemara Masechta Shabbos adds another aspect to the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos. Right? Up until now we said it's either Kavod Shabbos or Onik Shabbos, namely that the Shabbos lights facilitate Sholem Bayis, peace in the home. Amarav, Pshitali, Ner Beis of a Ner Chanukah, you only have money for one candle, either a Shabbos candle or Chanukah candle. Ner Beis Adav, Mishum Sholem Beis, because the Ner Shabbos provides for Sholem Bayis. What if you only had money for either Ner Beis or Kiddush Hayom? Right, you have to buy wine to make Kiddush, or you need a candle. Ner Beis Adav, Mishum Sholem Beis. Again, Sholem Bayis takes precedence. Above, we saw that Rashi explains that light is required for the Friday night meal due to honor for Shabbos. Here in his comments regarding Sholem Bayis, he explains that sitting in the dark while eating would cause family members distress. Now, these explanations could be seen as complementary. To honor Shabbos, we must ensure that the meal takes place in a respectable manner, not when people are distressed due to having to sit in the dark. So we're talking about, it's covering 2 bases, Kavod Shabbos as well as Sholem Bayis. Sholem Bayis, so says Rashi, Shebnei Bayis mitztarin le'Shabbos b'chosha. People are in distress that they're sitting in the dark. The theme of Shabbos candles, facilitating Sholem Bayis, is repeated later in the Gemara. But there Rashi explains that this is because one may trip when walking in the dark. It says in Eicha, "Vatiznach mishalom nafshi, nashisi tova, What does it mean? That my soul is removed from peace. How do I fix it? By lighting Shabbos candles. Says Rashi, he didn't have anything to light. If there's no peace, if there's no light, he's stumbling around in the dark, he's tripping. That leads not to peace, but to distress. According to the first explanation given by Rashi, that the family will feel distressed when eating in the dark, lighting candles where one eats suffices for shalom bayis. According to the second explanation, that one may trip, it would seem that one must ensure that all rooms being used on Shabbos have sufficient light. The Aruch HaShulchan notes this distinction and links it to his understanding of the difference between Kavod and Oneg Shabbos, which differs a little bit from the Gra. In his opinion, lighting where one eats is a fulfillment of Kavod Shabbos, whereas lighting elsewhere for reasons of Shalom Bayis facilitates Oneg Shabbos. The Rambam Atzmo, the Perek Lamed Halacha Hey, Choshev Adlokas Haner, the Rambam put Adlokas Haner in the category of Kavod Shabbos. Shekosov Sham, he wrote there, V'yen ner doluk v'shulchan aruch, the candle should be lit, the table set, mita mutzas, his bed should be laid. Shekol elu l'kavod Shabbos hein, ad kan l'shon. That's where the Rambam ends. V'tzarech lomer the tarvayu isnu, that there's both kavod and oneg Shabbos applying to Shabbos candles. To b'makom she'oichlim have a mikavod Shabbos. Lighting candles where you eat entails kavod. Uv'shari chadorim u'ma'oneg Shabbos. The fact that you can walk around the rest of your house and not trip is you're enjoying Shabbos that way. Shlo yikashel b'alichasu sham. V'zeh she'amru sham. That's why the Gemara brought a pasuk v'tiznach b'shalom nafshi, and it said zeh adlokas ner b'Shabbos. T'chashish ner yesh shalom. There's peace. Lo yikashel lipol. You're not going to fall. Since there's two aspects to lighting candles, there's kavod and oineg. So the chachamim were machmir in this mitzvah. Va'asok k'mitzvah b'fnei atzma. They made it a very special mitzvah, and so much so that you must make a bracha on it as well. So based on this that we're seeing, it sounds like Hadlokas Neros is rabbinic, and the making Kiddush Shabbos is midoraisa from Zochar v'Shamar. But we already saw multiple sources where kavod and oineg were brought by the Divrei Nevi'im. It's not midoraisa, and the fact that here the Chachamim instituted a bracha on Hadlokas Ner seems to imply that the mitzvah is rabbinic. The Mishnah Berurah writes that although it's discussed, one should have light in all the rooms to be used on Shabbos, the bracha should be recited when lighting in the place that one eats. We will discuss below whether the bracha is always recited where one eats, even if more than one family lights in the same house. Says the Mishnah Berurah, "V'adlokas haner tzarich liyos b'chol hachodorim, shehoilech sham b'Shabbos, al kaponim ner echad." At least one candle in other rooms, if in rooms where you're not eating there. Av she'eino ochel sham, if you're not eating there, kadesh lo yikashel be'etz, over you're not going to trip over a piece of wood or stone. Mihu habracha tevarech al haner sheb'mokem achila. The reason for this presumably relates to the comment of the Ramah that those candles lit in the place one eats, which stem from Kavod Oneg Shabbos, are the more important fulfillment of the mitzvah. Says the Ramah, the Ikar adlokas tluya b'neros shematlikin al hashulchan. The Ikar lighting is the neros that you do on the table of a L'Bashar Ner Shabbat, but not when you light candles elsewhere. Page 79. Any comments so far? How many candles should one light? So here, there's going to be a basic chiyuv, and then there's a lot of minhagim. So it's clear from the singular language used in all the early sources that lighting just one candle is sufficient to fulfill the halachic requirement. For example, the Shulchan Aruch uses language almost identical to that of the Rambam. Echad anoshim ve'echad noshim chayavin lios bevateim ner doluk b'Shabbos. You noted the word ner doluk is singular. It's not neiros, it's ner. Even if there's nothing to eat, again, singular. So the Mishnah Berurah writes that one who struggles financially should light just one candle and use any excess funds to buy more enjoyable food for Shabbos. So the Mishnah Berurah commenting on somebody who doesn't have says, it's not that he doesn't have anything to eat. He certainly should go around collecting to buy bread. The kind of mitzvah is kiddush. You don't need wine. You can make kiddush on bread. And so with the bread, you can be Makayim Kiddush, and you have a chiyuv Suda Shabbos. You got to make a Suda Shabbos. Ela kavona sheinu lechol mishal atzmo. He has nothing to eat that he owns himself. Shu misparnis mekupat staka, and he gets all of his food from the Tomchei Shabbos. Afilochi tzarich lishtadel lasikam ken niel Shabbos. He has to make sure that he has a candle. If he has very small amount of money, he says the precedent is to have bread, because I guess then you can have, you've knocked off Kiddush, which is Doraisa, and you've also had Suda Shabbos. But what are you going to eat with your bread? Gefilte fish, chopped liver? No. Just buy the bread first, then your next purchase should be a candle before Shar Macholim. The after Shar Macholim Ubasar Ugamke Bichlal Onik Shabbos, having gefilte fish and meat is certainly part of Onik Shabbos. Mikol Makom Ner Odif Yoser Mishum Sholem Bayis. We brought examples that Sholem Bayis is more important. Umi Mishum Ner Dai Ner Echa B'chud. Here is the Mishnah Berurah's point, that you, at a minimum, you should buy one candle. Then, with the extra money, you buy the food. Even an ani has to do something for Kavod Shabbos, which is the one there. However, the custom is to light at least two candles, as the Kolbo explains. Uve Tanchuma, right, in the Medrash Tanchuma, Matzati Komili de Shabbos Kofel. Everything on Shabbos is doubled. Shnei chvosim, right? The musaf is you bring two sheeps. Mizmor Shir L'Yom Shabbos. We recite it twice, right? We recite it in the Shachris, in the Psukei de Zimra, and then we recite it as a Shir Shel Yom. Lechem Mishnah. We have two loaves of challah. Zochar v'shomer, nirish, I mean, it goes lighting near shtener. So from here also, the custom arose to have two candles. The Shulchan Aruch quotes this practice, and the Ramah adds that some light additional candles. The Shulchan Aruch says, Yezor lasos ner yafeh. You should be careful to have at least one nice candle. V'yesh b'chuvarim lasos shtei psilos. If you have one candle, you should make 2 wicks. Echad keneged zochar ve'echad keneged shamor. Says the Rama, v'yichol lo'osiv ladlik shlosha arba neros. You can do 3 or 4, v'chein nagu. The Mishnah Berurah explains the symbolism behind the 2 customs that were common in his time. Lighting 7 candles or 10 candles on a weekly basis. Yesh noagim ladlik shiva neros. Keneged shiva simei Shavuot, 7 days of the week. V'yesh asara keneged asara dibros. Some had a minig to light 10 candles. One custom that has become especially popular in recent generations is lighting the number of candles equivalent to the number of members of the household. And that's brought by Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. Yesh noagos lahadlik kemispar anshe abayis. The minig is to light how many people you have in the house. And this was also mentioned by Rabbi Yisrael Friedman in his Likutei Ma'arich and other early sources. Inei minig anoshim, the custom of the women, Basher Yulad Lam Ben Bas, when they have a new child, a new son or a daughter, Moisif and Nerechad, they add a candle. What's the source? The Perek Bameh Madlikim, the Bischar Shemarbim B'Neres to Shabbos, with the reward of having a lot of candles, Havilei B'nin B'Chaslin Rabbona. Your sons and sons-in-law will be Torah scholars. Ayin Shah. Lekach b'chol pam sheyuda lem ben obas. So it came out whenever they had a new child. Marbe b'nei Rosh they say yisku that if it's either their sons will be Talmidei Chachamim or their daughters v'chasanim Talmidei Chachamim. This was our custom. 7, 5 plus 2. What about that middle one?
That's what we're doing, Hakaiva,
I don't get it.
because it's already in the hands of Hashem.
What do you mean?
That's what I wanted.
Okay.
We're not in control, it's God. That's my thing.
The poskim write, as summarized by Rav Neuwirth in the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa, that the custom to light extra candles only applies when a woman is at home. If she's away for Shabbos, lighting 2 candles suffices. To have many candles. When she's on a trip, you light 2 candles. The lav dafka gedolim doesn't have to be big. Like she normally lights at home. It could be smaller. What happens if one forgets to light? If a woman forgets to light altogether 1 week, the Maril rules that a penalty should be imposed. Nishal, he was asked a question. Bas Achos the Mari Segel, the niece of the Mari Segel, the Maril, who's a major Ashkenazi posek in Germany in the 1200s, 1300s. Al Isha de Mishtala, that she forgot to light a candle, V'hoirala, and the Marie Segel Paskind, Ushe'ela Meduda V'heshivla, Shetezira Kol Yamel Osif Kol Nershal Mitzvah Yosef B'Mashaisa Rikila. For the rest of her life, she should add a similar amount to that which she used to light until now to each mitzvah lamp. That means she should add more oil. B'shiurim adata. Umatai she'ira tanisa v'tizvada as tizvada gam al kol averzu. When she does vidui, she should mention this transgression. V'mitzon laharbos tanis al kacha. If she wants to fast and do other afflictions, so you see, this is an important thing. So, although the Maril writes that one who forgets to light should add to the amount of oil that she used previously, The Ramah writes that women have the practice to add a candle if they forgot to light. She has to add for the rest of her life. If she was normally lighting 2 candles, a 3rd candle. That's her kapara. You can't subtract, but you can add. But thank God our women don't forget to light Shabbos candles. Must a woman light an additional candle, even if her mistake was not due to negligence or any fault of her own? It was an accident. It was an emergency. They had a fire in the house, whatever. The Mishnah Berurah writes that the penalty for failing to light does not apply if it was due to some kind of unavoidable circumstance. Myri, she would, if she normally lights 2, she now lights 3. If her normal practice was to light 3, she has to light for the rest of her life 4. If she forgot a number of times, if she forgot now a second Shabbos, she has to add another candle. Hakol mishum knas. This is Chazal giving her a fine in order to incentivize her, induce her kadesh tezir b'kovet Shabbos. She should be careful more next time. So therefore, he says al kenim nensa. There was some. She had a flat tire. She can get home. V'lo yidlika. Could go on shaysim beis hasurim. She was in prison. Ain't it tzrich loisif? So she doesn't have to add. Kosav ha'elio rabba. To be isha aniya with a poor woman. Yesh lahakel b'sheshakha. We are more lenient if she forgot. Shetoisif kol yameh ma'at shemen b'ner. That she has to add oil every week. Then yimadlekas neiros tadlik tamid ner. If she lights candles, she should light a slightly longer candle than the ones she previously, but doesn't necessarily have to buy a second candle. So according to Mishnah Berurah, a woman who was unable to light because she had to deal with an emergency of some sort in her home before Shabbos would not be subject to this penalty of adding an extra candle. Contemporary poskim raise an important question with regard to the application of this penalty today. In earlier times, not lighting Shabbos candle meant having a house that was totally dark. While today, even if one does not light Shabbos candles, there's usually still plenty of light and no significant reduction of Oneg Shabbos. This question is related to the halachic status of whether actual candles today can still fulfill the mitzvah given the presence of electricity in the home. And we'll discuss that later. Does the penalty to add an extra candle apply when everyone fails to light candles or only when this failure results in the absence of light? This question was addressed by Achronim more than a century ago, such as Rav David Tzvi Hoffman, the Melamed L'Hoyel. He writes that in a case, Rav David Tzvi Hoffman took over in the Hildesheimer Seminary in Berlin from Rav Israel Hildesheimer. We in one of the towns, he was the Rav there that we visited the last couple of weeks. So the Melamed, the Rav Tzvi David Hoffman writes that in a case where the wife forgot to light, but the husband lit for her, she should light an extra candle in subsequent weeks. Isha achas shokol adlik beis neros. She would give adlik the Shabbos. The question was posed to Rav Tzvi Hoffman. a woman who forgot to light the normal 2 candles that she lights. Omnam baila hidlik daled neiros. God's plaman. Umeata shoelas haishem tzrich lo yisif ner. Dover pashu sheyotzim begas plaman yidei mitzvos ner shel Shabbos. If you lit gas, let's say it was a kerosene, fueled by kerosene, you light that, you're yotze. Kamo the shut beis Yitzchak, the yechol levarech begaslicht, bechein beelectric licht. You can make the bracha on lakas neiros in gas lights and electric lights. Bechein pashut, shimacher madlik b'shvila, that if someone lit for her, she'ein tzarich lo yisif, then she doesn't need to add as a penalty, as written by the Torah Shabbos. Omnam lefidas ha'esh shel Avram, af b'shtocha ner echad mima shehayser regila tzrich lo yisif, that if she forgot, she has to add. Af divrei eish shel Avram eina muchrachim v'kvar cholek aleim Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah argued with the eish shel Avram. V'nira she'im al yedei osafas ner echad yektzas irvuv b'shulchan. Adding a candle is going to cause problems with room on the table. They have 2 silver leichters equal. Let's say the third one is not of silver. It's not exactly the same size. There will be a lack of beauty. You can be makel and not do it. Or maybe the halacha will be that you will add a longer candle. Or when you buy the challah, you add the value of a candle to the value that you're going to add to the community chest for challah. But to get away with some fine, you can't. The woman was negligent. So, although in Rav Hoffman's case, the house would have been dark without the lights lit by the husband, or while today the house would usually still be lit by electric lights, even if no candles were lit, nevertheless, Rav Hoffman's emphasis on the negligence involved appears to indicate that he would require lighting an additional candle today as well, even though we've got plenty of light with electricity. And the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa and the Pischei Tshuva seems to understand in the same way. Harav Vosner, in the Shevet HaLevi rules, that the penalty still applies today since she was negligent in performing the mitzvah in the proper manner. See that Tzitz Eliezer, the Igros Moshe, Shmir Shabbos, who rules stringently. The Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa indicate that if the husband turned on the electric light specifically for the purpose of Kovod Shabbos, the wife would not need to light an extra candle. Says the Shevet HaLevi, Asher Sha'ala in Isha Sheshach Laglit Neosebel Shabbos. I was asked about a woman who forgot lighting candles. Avalayadorlik Ner Electric. There was electric lights. In the Don Zeh Bichlal Mashakos Vaposkim or Chayim, the Shachladlik Shetoisif Ner. Is she still in the Parsha where she would have to add an extra candle even though there's electric lights blazing? His argument is, by having the electric lights, you have light, and that fulfills the shalom bayis. He doesn't have a source in Rishonim. He still thinks there's negligence. It's a special mitzvah given to the women. Rav Ovadia Yosef disagrees and explains that in his opinion, the penalty is on account of a failure to fulfill the Sham Bayis component. But if she knew the electricity was on, she has fulfilled the Sham Bayis component. Bismanenu shemadlikim chashmal, where we light electric, lahir kol habayit, to put the whole house is lit up. In shokolad liknei shemen or shabbos, she forgot to light either with oil or candles. Ain't it tzrich loisif klal? The next week she doesn't have to add. Sheyoytzi b'nei choiva b'mnoyos chashmal. You fulfilled your choiva with the electric lights. She'ein kan mishum afor shalom beso. There's no damaging of shalom bayis. Ubrachos and ma'akvos. And even no bracha was said on electric lights. It doesn't invalidate the mitzvah of adlakas neiros. Rav David Ribiat reports that even among Ashkenazi poskim, some rule leniently. He says, since there's electric light, the various reasons, whether it's shalom bayis, whether it's to have a choshev meal, it's been fulfilled. Right? The electric lights are fulfilling kavid v'oinig. It's also shalom bayis. You're going to trip. The authorities are lenient, especially if it was a situation beyond her control. What should one use to light? So this is the famous Bameh Madlikin that we read. That's Gemara Shabbos. Shabbos Beis Amud Aleph. Bameh Madlikin uvameh Madlikin. Ein Madlikin lo b'lachash. Which is cedar bast, v'lo b'chosen uncon flax, v'lo b'kalach raw silk, v'lo b'psilas ha'eden willow bast, v'lo b'psilas ha'midbar desert weed, v'lo b'roka shel pnei hamayim, nor with moss, v'lo b'zephes pitch, v'lo b'shava wax, v'lo b'shemen kik castor oil, v'lo b'shemen sreifa, burning oil, v'lo ba'alya, fat from a sheep's tail, v'lo b'chelev tallow. You can light with boiled chelev. Now, the Gemara explains that the reason that these wicks and fuels may not be used is because they don't produce a steady flame. And this is all a gzeira, because seeing a flickering flame may induce a person to adjust the wick, which is a prohibited activity on the Shabbos. You're engaged in lighting a fire. All these wicks that the Chum say are prohibited, they sputter. These fuels are not drawn to the wick properly. The next Mishnah continues to add fuels which may or may not be used. Rabbi Shmuel Arei Madlikin be'itran, tar, when they cover their Shabbos, it smells bad. Shumshumin, sesame oil, b'shemen that goes in walnut oil, b'shemen it's known as turnip oil, b'shemen dagim fish oil, b'shemen pakuas gourd oil, be'itran of a neft. It's neft is like, diesel or gasoline. You have to use shemen zayis. The Gemara explains what's wrong with tar. It's got a bad smell, and that negates the whole purpose of lighting Shabbos candles. My time, you're going to leave the room. Well, let him leave the room. Who says you have to sit there? No, it's a choiv to sit there. The halacha does not follow the view of Tarfa. And one may use any fuel to light. except for those that are forbidden. Tosfos writes that ideally you should use olive oil. The best way to perform the mitzvah is olive oil. It goes to the wick easily. More than anybody. Everybody agrees that olive oil can be used. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Shar kol hashmonim chutz me'elam madlikin behem. All fats and oils can be used except for the ones specifically listed that you can't use. Olive oil is the best. The Mishnah Berurah says you should choose a fuel that produces the clearest flame. The olive oil is drawn to the wick more than anything. The main shemen zayis matzui, if they don't have olive oil, mitzvah b'shar shmanim sha'arin solo. The mitzvah is with any other oil as long as it produces a clear light. Ve'hein kodim l'neshav. This is better than candles. V'ner shav kodim l'ner shel chelev. A wax candle is better than wax made out of chelev. The oirat solo yof. It's a better light. Venerally. This has to do, depending on what the candle. The Bener Shalanu, Shekorin Citrin, which is made from pure oil, should solve Vadayos. That's better than wax. You're not going to come to touch it. So Ze'odif Miner Shav, it's better than a wax candle. Rulai af mikol hashmanim. Everybody lost ilatus. You're not going to come to touch it. You know what? I'm going to save this to get into, because this we're going to have to spend some time on. This has some, and it will continue ad locus teres next week. We'll probably finish. I'm sure we'll finish this whole shear ad locus teres. We'll start. Maybe we'll start the ad locus, the second shear next week. Any questions, comments? Aros. Okay, have a good week, everybody. Next Tuesday night, 8:15.
Right.
Yeah.